I'm Justine Kincaid. I'm an Instructional Systems Specialist and instructor at the United States Air Force School of Aerospace Medicine. Today I'm going to talk about the 6 assumptions of andragogy and how my final project of EDT8150 is guided by them. My final project is developed for learners who are in the beginning stages of developing curriculum. So let's define these 6 assumptions, and I will tie in how I used each of the assumptions in developing my project. The first one is need to know. This assumption highlights that in order for adult learners to learn something, they need to know why it's important for them to learn it. They need to know how this knowledge can potentially solve new problems for them. This assumption is used in the introduction phase of the project. The project is started by explaining where the instructional system design model of ADDIE came from and why it's important for them to understand. And it also teaches them to implement this model when they're designing their courses. Next is self-concept. This assumption refers to the adult becoming more self-directed and independent. They typically decide what they only want to learn when they feel like it's worthwhile. This assumption is used throughout the development of the project by providing examples of what can happen in the event that they do not use the model as a guide for course development. This also solidifies that the information is worthwhile and worth their attention. Next on the list is experience. Adult learners come to the classroom with a wealth of life experiences. This can be good and bad. When learning in the classroom can be tied back to real-life experiences, it can add to the richness in the learning experience. Sometimes this can also develop biases and create barriers to learning, so keep that in mind. The project will take the experiences the instructors have from teaching the material and developing their lesson plans and tie those back into the concepts into developing curriculum. Next is the readiness to learn, which kind of ties back to the need to know. The adult learner is going to be less likely to be ready to learn if they don't feel like they have the need to learn it. With this project, the instructor will be ready to learn because they will understand why it's important for them to know these things, and there will be exercises implemented throughout the lesson that will give them the opportunity to apply what they just learned. This is followed by the orientation to learning, or problem-centered learning. The adult learner needs to see the application of learning immediately. If we can't give those exercises where they can apply the knowledge they just learned, they may decide that knowing this is not worthwhile. During this project, I will discuss different examples and how what they just learned can be applied. I would incorporate this video project into the classroom where we could then perform skill-based exercises and be able to apply the ADDIE model. And last but not least, the motivation to learn. This is a big one, and it kind of ties the rest of the assumptions together. The adult learner puts themselves in a classroom situation, usually because some outside motivator that makes them want to learn. As a child, you go to school and you learn because it's what is required and it's the societal norm. As an adult, you're typically motivated to learn by something, whether the end goal is to better your quality of life or some other internal motivator. This assumption is used throughout the project to remind them why they are there and why this job is so important. The instructors here know that poorly developed curriculum in a technical training environment can make the learning unravel quick, fast, and in a hurry. Most of our instructors are motivated to become curriculum developers in order to fix the subpar materials that they were forced to teach off of. This is a strong motivator for them throughout the course. I use these assumptions with the knowledge that they are flexible and that they can be altered depending on the situation in the classroom. Seeing as this is a military training environment, some of the assumptions may be considered moot, but nonetheless, I attempt to integrate them throughout the development. I hope this video gave you a clear picture of what the 6 assumptions of andragogy are and how I use them in the development of my final project.